Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the program one of the stars of the show Salem. Please say hi to Lucy Lawless.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
I was really going to give you the introduction, probably for the role that you're most famous for, the madam on Eurotrip.
Yeah, that's right.
Has anyone
Madame
ever introduced you like that?
I'm going to say you're the first, Erik.
Good. I'd like to make an impression.
Thank you.
Of course, everybody knows you as Xena. I think you're at the point where I don't think there's really much that could be asked about that program, considering how huge that thing was around the world.
Yeah. Yes, so now I'm playing a much more dangerous character.
You are.
Called the Countess. And I stepped into this lovely world of sort of lush. It's like stepping into a painting, and I get to play this incredibly violent, charming, witty woman.
Right.
Who... she's going to bring a lot of trouble to Salem this season.
The show is called Salem. It's on the WGN America Network.
Yep.
It's on Sunday nights at 10 p.m. You play Countess Marburg, and she's new this season.
Yeah, she's a troublemaker.
She's an old witch, right? An ancient witch?
Yeah, a couple of thousand years old at least. She's every famous
Germanic,
witch of Germanic descent. But bizarrely, she speaks French, because I think the nobility did.
Right.
In those days. So that's a little confusing.
Well, even during the World Wars, Germany and France, there was parts of France and everything that was constantly changing hands with the Germans. So speaking French and German at the same time, it was not...
They'd speak an Alsatian language, yeah. Yes, no, I think if you ask any Frenchman, even from Alsace,
of course, they would take it as an insult. It's just it wasn't that uncommon at the time, all those years to have that. So Salem... I don't know how anyone could not know based on the title, but it's based on the old Salem witch trials.
Yeah, except in our Massachusetts, they really are witches. And in the first season, I remember being completely shocked when Mary Sibley, the beautiful, the most powerful witch in Salem, breastfeeds this toad on her thigh. It's like, and you go, oh my God, that is so unnerving, that is so disgusting. But it's like, these witches are for reals, something. So it's really twisted stuff. And the more bizarre and twisted the idea, the more likely it is to have been taken from historical accounts, which obviously weren't true. Nobody ever breastfed a toad. I'm quite certain of it. But that was the mythology that went with a particular story in a certain place and time. So these writers have done a great deal of research. Adam Simon's a real expert in all things kind of witchy poo and occult. Just about everything they do is just sort of selling historical footnotes as true. And beautifully depicted. It's really a rich world visually.
You've had these great opportunities, I'll say, where you've landed on shows that were based on history, but much like Salem, go in their own directions and add so much more to it that really never happened, and it actually makes it better. Like those stories like Spartacus, based on that history, but they made it more vivid, made it come more alive, even though those stories were like so nuts, especially with the witch trials and the burnings and all that stuff. Yeah. How do you make it better? How do you make it bigger? It's like, oh, they really did exist, and then you make this whole kind of magic world around it.
There's nothing so strange as human beings. And as I said, a lot of this really crazy stuff is from stories in Western history. So as horrible as they are, they're things that people have actually done or thought or said or accused somebody else of. And we've just gone, okay, let's take that conceit and say it's all real.
How much of the history did you have to brush up on before you got this role?
None. They, as I say, they're really scholarly about it all, the writers. So all you have to do is read the script and bring it to life. And that means playing all this bizarre stuff absolutely naturalistically. Like, it's no big deal that, I've got your wife on a spit over a fire and I'm basting her with butter, which is not going to happen on Salem.
Right.
But, for example, you just do that at the same time as maintaining a perfectly ordinary conversation about something completely different. Just like in Spartacus in the first season when you meet Batiatus and his wife, and they're basically having sex using a slave, a quote-unquote handmaiden, and for an audience at home, you're like, oh my God, I've never seen that. That's water cooler stuff, that's the stuff that people are going to gather around. Did you see that on television? Because it's never been seen before. And Salem has a few of those every episode too. You've got to.
Well, let me ask you, with Spartacus, does your character in Salem enjoy baths? Because there's a lot of bath scenes.
Oh, there's baths in this one too.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Everyone's running for you and goes, I really can see Lucy Lawless in a bath.
And not just me. I mean, everybody's there's
Right.
sort of partial
It's a communal
nudity. It's
thing.
nowhere as much as in Spartacus because it's basic cable, so you don't really see anything, but it's very much suggested. It's totally great show, because it pushes every boundary in every direction.
Right.
So even though it's basic cable, it's completely compelling and wild. It's a wild ride, and that seems to be what I specialize in, wild rides.
Because you're joining in season 2.
Yeah.
Was this character already envisioned, or did they want to get you attached to the project and then came up with this character?
I can't tell. I think the character came first, and then, in fact, what was said was, I want you to get someone like Lucy Lawless. And they went, why
don't you just get Lucy Lawless?
Lucy Lawless? And I happened to be available, and so here we are.
Was your character alluded to in season 1? Like, was there mentions of her, like foreshadowing?
Yeah, there was some, because Increase Mather, who is Cotton's dad, the reverend who's always banging hoes.
Right.
His dad is the big witch hunter, right? And he's got these burned hands from a struggle with a witch. Like, he would burn all these kids. He was the witch finder, and basically a lot of innocent children were sacrificed to this horrible man. But he was actually right. And in one case, the kid that one of the subjects of his inquisition was in fact me, and I dragged him to hell, and that's why his hands burnt, and that's why my character has a burn mark of his handprint on. So it was set up a little bit, but the character has really taken off, really culminates in a great storyline.
Did you know you had this part with this character as season 1 was ending, or did you find out just during the off time?
No, I found out in January that they offered it to me, and I looked at the show and went, oh yeah, that looks cool, and I think those actors are brilliant, and I want to be part of that. So here I am.
You've also had the good fortune of joining some series in season 2, because you've also did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
And joined in season 2 there, and
yeah,
added.
That just seemed like a good Comic-Con idea, It's like, I want to try some Marvel stuff. Let's see what that's about. But, I'm not that interested in doing guest spots, to be honest,
right,
anymore. Sometimes, if something's intriguing, I'll go and see what it's like.
Well, you never say never with that Marvel Disney World, because they have people come in for a little bit, and then you think, oh, it's just they brought in a guest actor, and then all of a sudden you find out later on that character comes back full circle,
that's right.
maybe in a season or 2 down the line, and go, oh my God, what you thought was just a little part turned out to be a really big deal.
Yeah, Marvel's enormous, that's a really interesting, beyond, it's a mega franchise, isn't it, and all those. Yeah, it's the Comic-Con world, so that's kind of a nod to my fans from that world.
Your first appearance on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was, I think, in January, right? Air in January?
Was it only January?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like a lifetime ago. I've been living as the Countess, so I can't even remember anything,
You juggle a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You're never not working.
No, I was doing a play at the same time. So anyway, yeah, it's been good. It's
and
been
you
really
sing
great.
too. And
yeah, but I find myself now, and I'm still working. I'm like, this is awesome. I didn't really foresee this. I thought my career would sort of go away, and all of a sudden, now that my children are a bit older, I'm more able to take advantage of these offers. I'm really shocked and delighted that I still have a career.
We mentioned briefly at the beginning of this Xena Warrior Princess. That and the Hercules episodes were the ones that kind of put you into worldwide attention. Like everybody became obsessed with this, and
wow, you're a real fanboy, huh?
Well, I'm trying not to be.
Stuff.
I'm just trying to talk to you as
I love it. Are you kidding? Nerds are my
because
life.
A lot of people always, oh my God, it's Xena. Were you afraid at this point, because you pretty much hit the jackpot with Xena? It was so beloved and respected. Toy lines, merch lines, all that stuff. It was just making money everywhere. Were you afraid at this point that even though you were getting all this success and all this attention, that you were going to be typecast?
I didn't fear that. Perhaps I should have. There was a little bit of it wasn't really about being typecast, but there was a bit of a 90s stank that you just had to live through. And I guess I was off having kids, so it didn't really affect. I didn't know about how much it affected me until it was all over. But I still managed to do Battlestar and, some really cool things. And it gave me the chance to be on Simpsons. That's such a magnificent...
Well, I'm going to talk to you about that in a second, because
stuff.
that's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, mine too.
But at that point, because Xena was so huge, it wasn't even a network show. It was a syndicated show, at least here in the States, where it was on at all hours, so it was never not on. And getting that success, I imagine, at some point got a bit difficult when people kept thinking, why are we going to hire Xena to do this project and everything? And Battlestar Galactica, I think, really helped put you into that forefront of like, wow, she's really, for people who weren't really following you, like she's more than just Xena.
Yeah, well, I have to thank David Icke for that, who was on Hercules and Xena. He was the executive, and he was the EP on Battlestar with Ron Moore. And so it was David who in fact, he wanted me to be in the first episode as Ty's wife. And I was like, David, I don't play anybody's wife. Get out of here. And which, might have been a mistake, but I thought Kate Vernon was brilliant and was wonderful in that role anyway. So thanks to him, he brought me in as Deanna Beers later.
Right. And that was a great opportunity, too, because when that show came back, that show had a very strong cult following, the 70s version. And even though it wasn't critically acclaimed and rated highly when it was out at the time, it was one of those shows that just, the memory of it became legendary, and people wearing the outfits and buying the old toys.
And that red eye going back and forth
right,
through our minds,
from the Cylons,
it was
right.
like, whoa, that is so space age.
So to reboot this thing, one, was risky enough. But when it hit, and it became one of those early shows, much like The Sopranos, I'll say, where it became one of those early shows that people were binge watching.
Yeah.
Right when Netflix was starting to do the instant streaming, they were still doing the DVD service and whatever. People were going back to watch old episodes of Battlestar because it was building to this epic ending that you're like, dude, you got to go back 4 seasons and start over. You can't just join it now, or you're not going to not just understand it, but you're not going to appreciate what they're doing with this.
Because it was a whole matrix that you had to understand. Hey? That was really high-end writing, wasn't it?
High-end writing. It was suspenseful. It was terrifying at some points. It was sexy without being, graphic, and it just had everything. And the writing and the storyline of it, people really became obsessed with the show itself, not just the characters on it.
And it brought, I must say, I was very grateful that it widened my audience, my fan base, because Battlestar people like their sci-fi straight. They want it serious, and they were not Xena fans at all. Well, the overlap was much smaller than you might imagine. And
also, you had to fight the fact that when they announced that one of the more popular characters on the show, Starbuck, was played by a guy, and now was going to be a girl.
Yeah.
People who were fans of the old series were already not giving it a shot because you changed something that was supposed to be in this, etched in stone in history, that has to be a guy.
It was such a brilliant move.
And I think Katie did a better job as Starbuck than the guy did, and I can't remember his name right now.
Well, you're comparing bloody apples and watermelons, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Katie was a magnificent casting and actress. And what a great idea to do that. That's really turning it on its head, isn't it? Yeah.
For the way that show ended, it was very top secret on a lot of those things because there's a lot of mystery and a lot of things being thrown at you to kind of lure you off in different directions so that you wouldn't figure out what it was going. How soon did you find out how that show was going to end?
Well, I knew my character was a Cylon before I even signed on. But that's the advantage of being, trusted by the producers. They'll tell you things that they know you can keep a secret.
And you're building that trust with the audience, too, so that when it does pop, and you've known it since you started, it's like, that's why she did all these things. It wasn't just because they wrote, she knew, and that's how she played it.
That's right, and that's why with Spartacus, I knew how it was going to go with her and what it was leading up to. So that's right, it informed all the things I did. She knew the whole time that Alethea was just her bloody incubator.
Right.
So all that pretending to be friends was... And even like Stephen DeKnight and Viva, who played Alethea, were both shocked when we were doing the B-roll for the DVDs or something, like a year after the show had finished. And they were saying, I think, that Lucretia really did love Viva. And I went, no, she didn't. Not Viva, Alethea. No, she didn't. She's just her incubator. She's a piece of machinery to her. And so she's going to take care of it in a loving manner because she needs it. But when her husband died, all love went out of Lucretia.
Right.
And when her baby was taken away,
Such a great show. It was one of those shows, too, where it ended on the right note, but I kind of wish it didn't. I kind of wish it went a little bit more, but I don't know if it would have done it justice.
Me too. Oh, they could have spun that out a few years. They could have
done a movie.
Off and done bloody House of Battiatas. They could have done a lot of things, but that's life,
That
that's
is
television.
life. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Salem. No, we're not here to talk about life either. We're here to talk about Salem on the WGN American Network. Sundays, 10 p.m. You should be watching this.
Wild ride.
Season 1 is up. I checked the other day. It's up on demand, so you can catch up. If you're going to join in late, you go right back to season 1 and then take a weekend, plow through it, and then catch up to where they are live on TV.
Yeah, it's got some... I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud to be part of this cast and with the writing and everything. The season it's going to be monstrous. In every sense of the word, this is going to be a monstrous season.
Comparing it to what you did in Spartacus, again, we already touched on the baths, the communal baths that you seem to be forced to take all the time.
The Romans did do that, so that was...
No, I know, but it always seems like Lucy Lawless looks like the perfect person to put into these scenes, so we're just going to do her all the time in those scenes.
You won't believe this, Erik, but everybody looks better in the bath.
I don't.
And you know what? I think you do.
Not at all.
I think you're not
do
if I'm
at my chin level underwater, I'll be fine. If you just see my eyes, I'll be great.
No.
The rest of it is a big disappointment.
You're tricking me now.
No, it looks like I'm absorbing the bath water while I'm in there. But I did want to ask about the fact that a lot of these shows that you're in, do they already have it perceived that you're going to have romantic interests with other women, or do they say, how do you feel about this? Or do you think your character would go this way? Are you cool with that? Or they just say, you're going to hook up with all these other chicks?
No, I think about it. You know what? I never even considered that. I did think about why they always put me in a bath. I mean, Xena was in the bloody bath half the time. You're right.
Well, the Xena character, for those who don't know, it was a big deal, especially in that time in the 90s there, because it wasn't really drawn out that Xena was or could have been a lesbian, but it was implied with her partnership with her partner there. But it became sort of an icon for the gay movement.
Yep.
Which is an awesome thing to do.
Just, female empowerment, or anybody who felt marginalized really liked that show.
Right. A lot of people identify with it, and a lot of people, if they didn't identify with the character, were really behind it because of the message. It wasn't forcing on you, but it was showing that was there as far as same-sex equality and things like that.
Yeah, I tell you what, unrelated to that, African-American women loved that character. There was something in her strength that they see in themselves. It's been explained to me why they would so... I mean, she's clearly not African-American. She had...
But she likes to slap around guys. Maybe that's why.
What are you saying, Erik? But...
She doesn't take any shit is what she does.
Right. Well, black women have to put up with a lot of shit, actually. And I think they identify with the strength of that character. There's a lot of fatherlessness. There's a lot of... whatever, they need to be strong, and nobody's going to take care of their children if they don't.
Well, getting back to what I was saying about as far as having your character have romantic connections with other females there, based on what Xena portrayed and demonstrated, and then you've done spots for, I think you were in the L Word, right?
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, what is
Do
it
you
about
think
me?
that perception was, anytime you write for Lucy Lawless, she likes hooking up with chicks, we got to put a servant or like a sister wife in there just to spice up the role, or Lucy will do that, so just write it in?
I can't explain it, but women do kind of like me. I think they...
I don't see how anyone couldn't. You're an icon for all sexes.
Yeah, but in that way, that's kind of, I think because I'm tall and, I don't know, maybe... I hate to say that.
Confident,
they think I'm
athletic,
masculine or something,
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't view it, and I don't think women view it as you being masculine at all.
No,
strong maybe, but not masculine.
Femininity. Anyway, it's an odd thing. Yeah,
it's just a nice. Maybe it's a nice thing, but it's a nice trend that I'm seeing that in everything you do, eventually your character is going to hook up with somebody.
Yeah, in fact, in Salem, I do give the blood kiss to Anne Hale.
See.
I know. It's very twisty, this role, though. I mean, she's really got a very inappropriate relationship with her son.
Right.
It's really quite... This is not for the faint-hearted. So if you're prudish, please stay home. You're not interested in hearing about your shock and awe that I'm manhandling my own son in the show. I mean, it's pretty twisty stuff.
Right.
Yeah. It's horrible. They're witches. It's to be expected.
The show is Salem. It's on the WGN American Network, Sundays at 10 p.m. Two more things before you go.
Yeah.
We've talked about your past and your present, and let's see if this applies to your future here when you're going to move into Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Does Ruby have these characteristics that all your other characters seem to have?
Oh, my God. I kind of hope not. I'd like to do something different. Maybe...
Ash walks into a cabin, you're in a bath with somebody, and...
My dream is that she hates on Bruce, on Ash, but she really wants him to be her baby daddy. Even though they're too old to be having children. It's like she's kind of gunning for him. She wants to get his DNA insider. I mean, that would be so weird. I like things to be kind of nasty and funny, and I think that show might be the outlet for that side of my talent.
Of your range.
My talent. My range, thank you.
It's an exciting show because you get to work again with Bruce Campbell, who also worked on your Xena show.
Yeah, I've known Bruce for 20 years. Yeah.
So this is the next biggest thing for you. Like I said, you're never not working.
And Sam is down in New Zealand. They just started shooting this week, I think, yesterday. Yeah. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and Rob Tappert back together.
Before you go, I do want to talk about probably my favorite project of yours that you did, and that was your cameo on Treehouse of Horror 10 for The Simpsons.
Yeah, that was cool, eh? I think I've been on it twice. There was another time.
Yeah, probably, but I just
anyway,
remember your speaking role from that, where you're at a convention and this villain, the Collector,
between Doctor Who and Yasmin Bleeth,
right? And he just kidnaps you and puts you in a big Mylar bag and hangs you on the wall and wants to make you his bride.
I know, and they gave me that great line at the end. I told you I'm not Xena, I'm
Right.
Lucy Lawless, and off she flies off with Bart.
But what do you think of this that NECA Toys put out here? Have you seen these?
I have seen them, yeah. Can
How
I
awesome
sign
are
that
these?
for you? That
That would be my next question.
I have to thank Matt Groening specifically for allowing me to be part of this, because he was a fan of the show and he's just such a great guy and a great environmentalist, and I love him.
Thank you so much for coming on here. I appreciate the time. The show is Salem on the WGN American Network. Sundays at 10 p.m. You should definitely check this out. And then in the future, you have another project which we already mentioned, so I won't plug that right now.
Yeah,
you
Salem,
never,
a hot and wild
I say it again,
ride.
you never are not working. You're always doing something.
Well, there's been times where I didn't work, but I'm so delighted to be part of this show.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Talk to you next time.
Talk to you then.